from here, from GTA Indonesia, Jakarta. Welcome to this introduction, because we have to remember that this one is an introduction jet orientation course. And this one is the last part of this course. This is number 5, with the title of maneuvers. We are going to talk maneuvers, but with an idea of operational maneuvers, how we are going to fly the aircraft. First, I'm going to try to introduce myself. My name is Francisco Gonzalez. I am captain at 320 and TRI for 10 years with Global Training Aviation. And right now, I'm a training manager here in GTA in Indonesia, in Global Training Aviation. Today, as I told you, it will be our last part of this course. Remember that this course is a free course that GTA is giving to all of this, all of the pilots that is suffering with this problem of the corona, trying to do it a big community and trying to help everybody to have a good idea what will be a good jet orientation course. Remember that this course is it will be much more bigger, much more deeply in global training aviation when you are ready to start this kind of course with us. Okay, so we are going to, I'm going to withdraw the video, due that is much more better for transmission all the slides and to be sure that everything goes smoothly. So I hope that everybody is starting looking this first part of the slides, and I'm going to withdraw my video camera. Okay, now we are going to start this introduction jet orientation course. As I told you, this is the last part, number 5, as you can see. This part is titled maneuvers in a way of operational, as I say. Remember that only to remember that the minimum level of knowledge that required for this course is the commercial pilot, something similar, and also to headline that is an introduction, okay, course for how to fly the step that is compulsory from one propeller aircraft into A320, because this jet orientation course is based on A320. As you can see, this is 5 parts with 9 sessions, and this one is the last one. This part is a little bit more deeply, maybe it takes a little bit more than 50 minutes. We are trying to reduce as much as possible, but it's, as I say, it's a deeply day today. This is how we already, the things that you already saw, and we are right now here in the last one, part number 5 with section number 9 with maneuvers, as I say. Okay, remember that also that normally in a jet orientation course, you have to do it an exam, but in that case, it's a webinar course, and it's not going to do, we are not going to have any exam at the end. Okay, the introduction. What we are going to talk. We are starting with the principles of the Airbus. Then we are going to see what is fly-by-wire, what is the management, flight management system on this A320. Then we're talking also about the electronic instrument system. Then we are talking how we Airbus try to design the cockpit, how is the layout of this cockpit. Then we're talking about something a little bit of scan flows and a little bit introduction to SOPs, then profiles, and at the end, golden rules. That could be the conclusion of all of this course. Okay, now we are going to talk about the Airbus fly principles. Remember that Airbus has his own philosophy, and after so many studies, they think that the best way to create a new aircraft as a 320, it will be a little bit different from the rest. What are the principles that are Airbus thinking when create this aircraft? We thought about fly-by-wire. Afterwards, we are going to deeply in all of these things. Fly-by-wire means that with his own flight control laws and protections. Then we are going to talk about flight management system. That is one of the new systems that has this aircraft, how to manage really all the flights with some the principal aspects of this system. Also, something about auto thrust and at headlines about FM8. Then another important principle of this Airbus, that is the electronic instrument system with the IFIS and ECAM, and also introduce a little bit more about FM8. Later on, we are going to talk of the layout of this Airbus 320. As you can see, this is the principles of this aircraft, about what is going on with this aircraft, how this aircraft will be different from the rest of the aircrafts. Okay, so we are starting with this first principle, that is the fly-by-wire. We have to remember that the fly-by-wire, this kind of system, Airbus 320 was the first commercial aircraft with this new idea of how the control will be, okay, and the change with a side stick control. The jet orientation course that we are making this introduction, remember that is a step, compulsory step to do it, because you are passing from a propeller aircraft to the jet aircraft. You have, during the first day, you have already saw these things, how the difference are, what are the principles on the system that this aircraft has, and now we are going to be deeply how you can fly this aircraft. So what is fly-by-wire? Airbus flight control surface, okay, the surface of to control this aircraft are moved by commands from several control computers, but it's in a response from the pilot's input. So why we say fly-by-wire? Because there is not mechanical connections between the side stick into the control surface. There is not wire, there is not a line, there is not mechanical connection to join the side stick, your horn, to the control surface. So if you see, when we move the side stick, this command goes to the surface, but before has to pass through computers. In computers, we have programs in all computers. And we are going to talk, when we talk with controls computers, for something that the name is flight control laws. What is the flight control laws? Is the relationship between the pilot input, what the pilot do in the side stick, and the aircraft response. The control laws is one of the good things of the control laws is that it determines the characteristics of how we can handle this aircraft. So to resume, when we move my side stick, what in another craft we can say horns, this movement, these inputs goes through some control computers, flight control computers, and these flight control computers give some instructions to commands to control surface. So at the end, the pilot has to fly inside one envelope in a normal flight. It's an envelope that where we cannot move from that part. So we are maintain one kind of limits on our flight. So remember that when we move the side stick, when we move my control, okay, this input goes through some computers. The computers analyze that signal and then goes to the control surface. So inside the computers, there are programs, as I said before. These programs is what determine the control laws. So the control law is the relationship between the pilot's input on the side stick and how the aircraft is responding. How is the response of this aircraft? This the control law determines these handling characteristics, okay, and to be sure that you can fly in a safety way. So we can divide these control laws in three main different parts. Or is the normal law, alternate law, and direct law. And all of these laws, okay, are with three submodes. Which one are? Is ground mode, flight mode, and flare mode. Why? Because we already said that when we move the side sticks, okay, there are some way that the surface is moving. There are some handling characteristics. So this way of movement of the surface must be different if we are on ground and when we are on flight, than when we are trying to land. Completely different. This is the reason that there are submodes. There are things that is different how we do it, this movement, how the response of the control are different. If you see here, this one normal law, we on ground mode, okay, how we can, when we move the side stick, the surface are moving different than when the aircraft is already flying. And later on, when the aircraft is going to land, must be completely different also. Because as we see, there are in some circumstances that if we don't have flare mode, this aircraft could not be landed. We will see later. So be sure that there are inside the laws, there are three modes, that is ground mode, okay, in that case, direct the stick to the surface relationship. There is a relationship direct from the movement of the stick to the surface. Fly mode is moving by on base of the load factor demand, and the flare modes occurs happen when we are below 50 feet of radial altimeter. As we say, there are three kinds of laws: normal, alternate, and direct. We are starting with the normal law. We see that the normal law, we have something that let me fly inside one frame, inside one envelope. I cannot go farther more than this one. These things, these limits of how I can fly is what we say protections. And in normal law, there are, as we see here, as you can see here, 5 main protections: pitch attitude protection, low factor protection, back angle protection, stall protection, and overspeed protections. So what is the pitch attitude protection? Here in this graph, when we move the side stick up and down, pitch up, pitch down, we can overpass one specific limits. We cannot pitch down more than 15, and pitch up no more than 20 or 30, depends on how is the configuration of the aircraft. So there are limits for this pitch when we are on normal low. What happened with the low factor protection? Normally, low factor protection, we try to avoid very strength to this aircraft. We want to be soft. How we fly will be in a soft way. I remember when I was starting flying in a DC-9, remember one instructor told me, okay, Fran, please, can you fly with one thing in your mind? Remember that in the last seat of the aircraft is flying your grandmother. What is the meaning of this one? Don't have to be very stressed in the aircraft. So, but this limitation that many years ago we have to do it by ourselves, here we have protection to avoid. We cannot be less than -1 G or more than 2.51 G, depends of also the configuration. This one is already, we have this protection that we cannot overpass. What happened with the back angle protection? With the back angle protection, we cannot bank more than 67 degrees of bank. Between 0 and 33 is autocompensate, and between 33 to 67, automatically, okay, there is not autocompensate, and there are different way of how to act the aircraft. But there's protection. If we reach the mechanical stop with the side stick, we will see we cannot move further. We cannot bank more than 67. Also happened with the stall protection. Why did one aircraft get installed? The aircraft get installed not for the speed, for the angle of attack. And there are protections that you cannot overpass this angle of attack. There are protection. There are one protection that automatically engage when you try to pass over this. So this aircraft is not able in normal low to get a stall. What happened with the overspeed? The overspeed protection, don't let the aircraft to be far more than BMO or MMO. Because if we try to pitch to increase the speed above this amount, automatically the aircraft, it doesn't matter what you do, automatically the aircraft is trying to pitch up to reach the limit. So on normal low, as you see, we see that there are protections. We cannot overpass these limitations. But not always is like this. It will be the perfect that always we have this protection. What happens when we have failures inside the aircraft? In some case of double failures, like double hydraulic, or the integrity of the redundancy of the computers and other required systems are not enough, so the computers cannot maintain these kind of protections. They are not able with these failures. So in that case, there are a degradation of the normal low, and we enter on alternate low. What happened when we enter on alternate low? that there are some protections that we don't have it. We don't have this protection because the computers are not able to maintain these things, are not capable. What are the things that we don't have? The high angle of attack protection are replaced, but one thing that now in that case, when we enter in alternate law, yes, we can have, remember that we can have a stall warning. Remember, with normal law, we don't have a stall warning because we cannot enter in a stall. Here, advise that you are entering in a stall. What are the things? The load factor, how strenuous will be my flight? Yes, it's maintained in the normal way with normal load. Peak altitude protection is lost. It's lost. We can pitch up more than 20 or 30, and here this is the limitation that we have before. Right now, we don't have this limitation. Also, the back angle protection, we don't have this one. And the high speed protections is replaced one thing that the name is stability. This is a less protection. So these things that you see here, these crosses, amber crosses, is tell you that you already lost your normal law and you are on alternate law. Also here on the ECAN, you will see later what is the ECAN. Here advice that you are on alternate law and you have to keep your maximum speed at 320. Let me withdraw this one. Okay. So what happened when there are more failures? We are already in alternate law. We have already one degradation. And if we still have more failures, or we extend the landing gear, when these things happens, okay, at the end, we withdraw all the protections. When we have multiple failures of redundancy systems, we degrade completely these things. And we enter in what we say direct law. So to clarify, we have normal law with all the protection. When there are some functions, when there are some malfunctions, we degrade in alternate law. And when there are much more, we reach the worst situation that is, not the worst, but a worst situation that there is direct law degradation. And remember that in direct law degradation, in direct law, no flight envelope protection. We don't have protections. So, and the flight characteristics on this aircraft is similar to the conventional aircraft. What happened in these things? That deflation, when we move the side stick, the deflation of the control surface is linear functions of the deflation of the side stick. We have to trim because on normal law, the aircraft is auto compensate. We don't have to compensate. In that case, we have to trim manually, as you see here on the FMA. It's very sensitive and high speeds. And normally we have to use manual thrust, is recommended because there are so big changes on the pitch. So we have to remember that in direct law, the flight controls inputs are like conventional flight control. And important, no protection are provided in direct law. We don't have overspeed. We have stall indicators also, and all of these things are present on the PFD. Okay, how we can distinguish in which law we are? This is normal law, this is my PDF, and this one, in this PDF, we will see that they have these dashes, green dashes, this is my limitation of back angle, this is my limitation of pitch, this is my limitation of pitch up on normal law. What happened when we deteriorate? These things, these slashes, change into crosses. That means that we don't have limitation. And on direct load, also tell me, okay, you don't have this limitation, you don't have these protections, and also you have to use manual pitch trim. Now the next step, if for any reason, all control surface, all computers, I'm sorry, all control computers of the surface we lost, we enter in something that we say mechanical backup. We cannot say that it's not allowed. This is a very dramatical situation when we already lost all these computers, and this situation is not to fly the aircraft and try to land. This situation is to keep safe the aircraft while the crew are able to restore some control and keep and try to be again on alternate load. Because we don't have stick, and the jaw must be with the physical mechanic rudder, the link, and when we try to pitch up, pitch down, we have to do it with the trim. So this, remember that we have starting with the principles of the Airbus. The first one was fly-by-wire. Remember that the fly-by-wire is Airbus was the first one to implement these things. Okay, now we are going to another principle of Airbus, that is the flight management system and EIS. The flight management systems and the electronic instrument system. Okay, there are two main principles of this aircraft that are different from the rest. So here you can see the cockpit of the Airbus, how is designed the cockpit. Here is what the pilot we will see, and we are going to explain system by system these two main systems that are different from the rest of the aircraft. So what is the flight management system, the FMAs? What are these? Okay. This is a fundamental component. We can say that it's a fundamental component of the modern and light avionics. This FMS is, what is this? It's an specialized computer system. So we talk about computers that automates many of the flight tasks. So if automates all the flight tasks, what would happen is reducing the workload of the flight. The primary function of this flight, of this FMS, okay, is manage the flight plan. How is going to manage this flight plan? With many sensors that they have, which of GPS, inertials. So with these sensors, we can determine the aircraft position. And the FMAs is going to give me information exactly where we are. What are the components of this flight management system? What are these components? Remember that the flight management systems, okay, is something that the modern aircrafts has. what I have, and they are specialized computers. So what are the components? First, we have two big computers that are identical. The name is Flight Management and Guidance Computer, FMNGC. And also, when you have a computer, now the computer that you have in front, that the computer that you are following this lesson, this kind of computer, how you communicate with this computer, with the program that you have. You need a screen, you need a keyboard. These things we have in the aircraft. With what? With the MCDU, with two malfunctions control display units. Each one will be for every computer. So we have two FMNGC computers and two screens and keyboards to communicate. Remember that are identicals. There are identicals. We are going to use for what? For, as we say, one of the principles is how to manage the flight plan, but there are many more things. Okay, so using for navigate, for flight planning, prediction, many predictions, and one of the best things are performance computations. But as every computer, we have to load with data. We have to load with data. This is the screens. This is the screens that we have here. This is how we communicate with this one. This is the MCDU. There are two, and we communicate with this MCDU. We communicate with the big computers, and we have to load everything on this. So we are going to fulfill all data of these computers. But there is one way to fulfill. There is one way to do it in a correct way. There are something at the beginning when you start when you are going to start the course, you will see that you can do it with using these acronyms of the phrase, okay? And tell you which key by key how you are going to introduce the data. Because we are going to on ground, we are going to introduce all the data that we need. Why? Because we have to tell the computer where we are, what is my departure airport, what will be my landing airport, what will be my alternate, what will be my flight cruise, what will be my gross weight, what will be my fuel. All of these things we have to introduce in that computer. And afterwards, the computers make his own profile, and the computer design a perfect flight path for this flight that you are going to do it. So we introduce with the low sheet everything that we need, the zero fuel weight, the fuel, everything on the computer. So remember that on ground we already prepared my flight. We already introduced all of this data. We already make a long-term prediction of my flight. So when the aircrafts or when the crew is flying what the computer already designed for me, we are talking that we are flying on manage mode. On manage mode is what we say long term. Long term. What? Because we prepared from the ground until the arrival what will be. How we can say that we want to fly like this? Okay, we go to the FCU here, we go to the FCU and we push the speed, we push the heading button, we push the altitude, and with this way, we are telling the aircraft that we want that you guide for me and you fly what you already designed. But not every day is possible. Imagine that you are going to do it a flight of 5 hours flight. You are going to do it a flight hours flight, and in that case, you not always reach the altitude that you desire. Maybe you also have to modify your trajectory. Why? Because there are bad weather, you have to avoid thunderstorm, so you cannot keep it the long-term trajectory. You have to do it short-term modification. This one, when we fly like this, is what we say selected. We are on selected mode. How we do it? Also in the FCU, but instead of pushing or press, we are pulling. And in that case, we select what we really want. Once we are still talking about FMNGC, the flight management system, and we already see that we are a little bit talking about what is taxiing. In Airbus, there are two figures, two pilots, and with his own role, pilot flying and pilot monitoring. What is the pilot flying? Pilot flying is the responsible of flight and navigate. Is the responsible of this one. Pilot monitoring, what is the pilot monitoring? He's monitoring, effective monitoring, not only looking, effective monitoring of the flight and also communicate. Remember that the pilot monitoring could be the last barrier before any error. Okay, there are how there are rules of how they do it, the pilot flying and pilot monitoring. Okay. Now we are going to another principle. So we already talked about fly-by-wire, then later on FMS, the flight management system. Now another principle of this one. What is the other principle? Is the EIS, Electronic Instrument System. This electronic instrument system is the cockpit of the A320 in the electronic instrument systems. Okay, there are six displayed unit, not television, not displayed unit. There are screens where we have information in our flight. Why? Because we're talking about glass cockpit. We have to forget the electromechanical instruments. Here is different. This EIS is divided in two systems. One is IFIS and the other one is ECAM. Remember that we have six screens. The AFIS is this one, 2 per every pilot, and the ECAM in the middle. We are going to be direct to the AFIS. So the AFIS, if you see, the AFIS is the systems, okay? What is the electronic flight instrument system? Electronic flight instrument systems. It's the things that we are going to fly. And if you see, there are 4 screens identical, 2 for the captain, 2 for the first office, okay? And these things, if you see, their names are PFD and the other one is ND. PFD is the primary flight displayed. The other one is the ND. What is the PFD? What is the PFD? The PFD is an instrument that integrates in only this instrument, integrates in a single display. In this display, integrates all the information that before historically is presented in a number of individual electromagnetic instruments. So before we have many electromagnetic instruments that we have to look at the same time. Here, everything is in this display. And with this instrument, with this one, we can complete, and is designed to improve the situation of worlds. Okay? And integrate in this display, integration these displays in only one, everything that we need for the flight. What we can see? Here we can see my speed, the speed tape. Here we can see my altitude. Here we can see my vertical speed. Here we can see my heading. Here my attitude of this one. Also information of the ILS, frequency, QNH, in all of these displayed. The name of this one is PFD, primary flight display. In the other one, ND, what we have? This one is more common for the rest of the people because there are, with the new systems on navigation, there are screens that give information about the flight plan and everything. Here we have the route, we have the points and everything. So remember this amount of electromechanic instruments, all of these are moving only in one display. So before we have to scan all over the screen, looking what is happening, now we have to be focused only in this one. And during the course, Global Training Aviation is going to teach you how to do it, the basic scanning. Because one of the important things here is we can scan more easy than before, but we have to know how to do it. So remember that maybe before you have to see many of these instruments and look what is happening quickly moving my eyes. Now we have only this one. This is the good thing. This is what we say the glassed cockpit. This is the attitude, okay? This is a little bit more deeply what we can see here. And after the IFIS, there is another element of the EIS, that the name is ECAM. Wow, ECAM. Okay. ECAM is what we say is electronic centralized aircraft monitoring, electronic centralized aircraft monitoring. And in this system monitors aircraft functions. All of the functions of this aircraft could be monitoring for these systems. And it's presented and it relays this information to the pilots. But not only give information, also detail if we have some failure. If we have some failures on the systems, because we have many detectors, or also we have some failures, is going to give me that information. And much more. Give me a list of actions, that we have to do it to correct the problem and to and to land in a safety way. This system is able to do it all of these things. What is the name? ECAM. And it's something that during all the jet orientation plan and later on the on the type rating is something that will be everyday actions. Okay? On the ECAN, we have only two screens. The upper one, the name is engine and warning display, and the second one, the system display. Also, we have one panel that we can control the information that we have in this ECAN. The name is ECP, ECAN Control Panel. So remember that in the ECAN, is displayed information to the pilots. Do it in a quick and effective manner. We have sensors all over the aircraft, and the information of the sensors goes, okay, goes to two computers. One is the System Data Acquisition Connector, the SDAC, and the other one are two flight warning computers. So all of this information that detects, you know, in the aircraft goes to here, and afterwards present on these displays, on this displayed unit. Remember, the name of this one is displayed unit, not a screen, not television, displayed unit. This one is what we say, the engine and warning display, and this one are different displays of the systems, display system on the second screen. Okay, one of the things that, oh, I'm sorry, we are already past. So you remember that we talked a little bit before what task sharing, what the figures of pilot flying, pilot monitoring. Okay, we are going to introduce a little bit something else on this one. On the ECAN, on the upper part, on the upper screen, display unit, okay, is divided, as we see here is information of the primary information of the engines, and here is what we say when appears the information of the ECAN. So remember that the system is able to give me information of what the things and what is the system that is going wrong, and the list of tasks to do it, to try to correct the problems will be here. It will be here with actions that have to do it. Who is the person who do it? The pilot monitoring. But only when the pilot flying, that the priority of the pilot flying is flight, okay, and navigate. After, when the pilot are sure that he can do it alone, is when the pilot flying said, ECAM action. To him, to who? To the pilot monitoring. And he has to read all of the things that we have here, all of these things, read and do. Here, when we have failures, the pilot monitoring have to read and do. Remember, read and do. Another particularity of this aircraft, what is the thrust, the auto thrust of this aircraft, with the idea of fixed throttle. But before this one, we are going to talk a little bit in a classical controls aircraft. When you are flying your Cessna, your people, whatever, you are without autopilot, we are maintaining the altitude, perfect compensate, and you introduce thrust to introduce power to this aircraft. What is happening? What happened? The aircraft is climb, automatically get energy and climb. What happened when you reduce? You reduce power, the aircraft automatically descend. But in Airbus 320, in normal law, with this protection that we said before, we have one thing that the name is artificial neutral stability. What is this? Autocompensate. This craft is autocompensate. So we can release the pressure of on my side stick, and the aircraft is going to keep my altitude that we are maintaining on my roll. But what happened with the aircraft is maintaining my altitude and I give more power. I increase my power. As we say, in the classical one, the aircraft is going to climb. Here, not. Here is going to keep the altitude, but only increase the speed. Is one of the key things in this aircraft. One of these principles that is different for the other ones. And another thing that we have on the autothrust in this aircraft is not motorized. Means that it's not going to move when we increase the power or reduce the power. Here there are 6 fixed positions. They are the takeoff, the takeoff or go around, the toga. Another position is flex on maximum continuous thrust. It depends on the situation. The other one is what we say climb here. We say climb here. This position, we keep it almost during all the flight, and then idle and maximum reverse. This is the different things that we have here in this aircraft. Let me erase this one. Okay. So this is the difference between the auto thrust in this aircraft than the other ones. Okay, so the thrust, you will see that is not moving. Okay. So we have already talked about to do it chronologically, what we have already seen. We already saw the fly-by-wire. We already saw the flight management system. We will show what the EIS. There are principles different that define this kind of aircraft. The other one, what is laid out? How is this aircraft? How is the cockpit of this aircraft? The cockpit on this aircraft has one principle: dark cockpit concept. It means that there will not, if everything goes correct, it will be any lights that advise of anything. So it's very easy to find one problem, because when some of the buttons and huge amount of buttons that we have here, if it is illuminated during the flight, means that something not go well, because the buttons are set for the flight. And there is another thing that we name is color coding. Here we can see every button and what are the different colors that we can find. If no light, is normal operation. If like this, abnormal with some fault indication. This one, the system is deactivated, or this one is available temporarily, or this one is activated. So, but normal, in a normal flight, we will see the button like this. So it's really easy, because when something goes wrong, appears the light, and also there are in front of us someone who advised me that on the overhead panel is something not working properly. Okay, so we already saw most of the layouts, and we are going to introduce a new idea that when you are passing to this specific aircraft or jet aircraft or multi-crew aircraft, okay, you have to take in account normal procedures. How we can define these things? We say that during the normal daily operation of the aircraft, flight crew performs actions frequently. When you enter in your car, you do it something every day in the same way. Here is the same. You enter in the aircraft and you are going to perform actions frequently. And also, these actions are routine tasks, something that you do it every day in the same way in a normal operation. This one we can say that are we can, okay, nominate, we can call them standard operational procedures. And all of these procedures, we have to do it memorized. And there is one way to do it, all of these procedures, in a way that the name is scan flows. So every part of the flight has his own scan flows that you have to do it by memory. Why scan flows? Because it's the best way to do it fluid. Don't forget, because it's a step by step. And as you can see, there are these kind of scan flows or patterns for every action. Cockpit preparation, after start, taxi before, all of these things are clear, defines how to do it, how you have to do it in this way to avoid to forget something. Why? Why? Because when you do these scan flows, remember this one you will see perfect. On green, the things that do it, the pilot flying. On yellow, the things that do it, the pilot monitoring. All of them have to do it their scan flows. Do it by memory. Do it by memory. But what happened? Airbus cannot only trust on the memory. After that, you have to read one thing that the name is. The name is normal checklist. So after every scan flow, there are one normal checklist to confirm that everything that you have already done are in a correct position. This is the way. Normal checklist. After every scan flow. Okay, someone who has already studied will tell me, no, there are, yes, of course, there are no checklists for 10,000 climbing and 10,000 descending, but do something that you will see later on the course. Sorry. This is the way of doing our checklist. The checklist is something that requests the pilot flying to the pilot monitoring, and the pilot monitoring has to read, and this is the way who has to answer the pilot flying. Remember, but in this case, we first do the scan flow, and then read the checklist. Now there are profiles, different profiles, that also is something that you have to know. For instance, this one is the profile for takeoff, because every day you have to do it in the same way. When you are going to take off, when you are clear to take off, you have to advance the thrust until 50. Wait, the engines are stabilized. Later on, you have to put it on flex position. You have to read the FMA, manual, flex, SRS, snap, auto thrust, blue. You have to read, you have to do it day by day. There are profiles that tell you Airbus how to do it. Okay, this is different profile that you have to do it. Then later on, when you reach the cruise, also the pilot flying has his own things to do it. Look what happened on the ECAM, how the flight progress, what the FMNGC said about what is the flight progress, what is my fuel, nav accuracy, etc., etc. Or if we have to do it then short-term modification, because we have to avoid some cumulonimbus and thunderstorm. This is on cruise. But if you remember that we already create on ground. On ground, we already create we already fulfill a profile. We already introduce my depart aircraft, depart airport, my arrival airport, my flight level, my gross weight, my fuel. We introduce many things. And the FMNGC computer create a profile, create a flight. So this computer will tell me what is the perfect momentum to start descending. So when we are before to start descending, because we are going to land, we have to prepare my approach. And you say, no, but you already on ground, you did it. Of course. But what happened in a 5 hours, 6 hours flight? Do you think that the condition on the arrival will be the same that you have, the information that you have when you depart? Maybe the runway is already changed. Maybe there are some malfunctions on the airport. Maybe, so there are many circumstances. So you have to prepare again the approach. And this is the reason that before reaching the top of the descent, when the computer tells me you have to prepare on my long term, on my computer, I have to prepare again my approach. Who has to prepare? The pilot flying. But the pilot flying cannot at the same time prepare everything and try to navigate and try to fly. No, this is the reason that the pilot flying has to delegate, has to give the control to the pilot monitoring and look to the MCDU and prepare the approach. How we are going to prepare? In a way that you will later see that the name is the heart. How to introduce everything. You have to first hear the 80s, the weather, to see which one is the runway use. You have to take the charts. You have to analyze the charts. And later on, you have to do the briefing. This is how you prepare the approach. Okay? And what happened when, remember that we can fly in select mode or manage. If we are going to descend on manage, okay, we only have to press the altitude, and when we already select a new altitude, when we press, and the aircraft is going to descend on the way that the FMNGC, this big computer, prepare for me. And in this computer, there are constraints already, because this computer knows what are the minimum altitude you have to pass in a specific point or something like that. This is the good thing to do it and manage this. Then let the FMNGC guide my flight. Okay. Now we already start descending. And now we are going to approach, because we have already prepared the approach. Every approach we can divide in three parts: initial, intermediate, and final. The initial, we have to know what is my accuracy of navigation. Okay, we have to select what is the correct approach that I'm going to do it. What is my strategy for this one? In the intermediate, we are going to adequate my aircraft in a specific altitude in one point, in median, that is initial approach point, and a specific altitude, a specific speed, a specific configuration. And of course, later on the final approach, you have to be sure that at 1,000 feet we are already stabilized. This one is the three parts of an approach. But how we can do these approaches, is what we say approach techniques. We can do it in two ways: early stabilized approach or decelerate approach. The early stabilized approach is when the aircraft is going to be fully configured, and also with the BAPP, speed before or exactly in the final descent point. What happened with the decelerate? So here already, here in this point, we are going to start descent. Okay, fully configured with my speed that we are going to have until the end of the landing. What happened with the decelerate approach? In the decelerate approach, when we reach my final descent point, we are going to be only with flaps 1 and S-speed configuration. And the rest of the configuration, we are going to do it during the descent. Here is 2 examples. This is one, how we are going to do it, ILS approach in a decelerate mode. We will see when we are already descending to this specific altitude, when we are going to at least flaps 1 and let the speed reduce this one. And here is my descent point. Here is my descent point, and during all of this time until we reach 1000, okay, we are going to there, the speed is going to reduce and configure the aircraft. Always remember before reaching 1000 feet. This is the decelerate. What happened with the early configured aircraft? So in this case, when we reach the final descent point, this one, we are going to configure, we have to be fully configured. So from this point until my land, my speed will be the same. So we are in this part, before starting descending, we are going to select all the flaps, landing gear, and reduce my speed. This way is early stabilized approach. This is another example that for early stabilized, there are some tools, but it's not Airbus officially. 7 nautical miles before this point, we have to select flash 1, 5 miles this one, to let the speed reduce it. But one thing is early stabilize, that stabilized approach criteria. This is completely different. This is something that is different. And this is the reason that I bring here to try to tell you what are the differences. So, stabilized approach criteria, okay, because it's something that most of the airlines and also organizations say that, please, you have to be fully stabilized in a specific altitude that it depends of the company, in the SOPs of the company. But we say, when we reach this altitude, that normally is common sense, is 1000 feet, okay, what the aircraft has been done all of the things before landing. All of the briefings and checklists have been done. The aircraft is in the planned landing configuration. If we plan to land with full flap, in that point, we have already been like this. The aircraft has to be in the correct flight path. Or if it's not, we have to do it minor changes. Also, my speed must be not more than 10 knots or less than the BRF on the BAPP. And of course, my power which be the appropriate for that configuration. In the event that the pilot flying that is responsible of this one, the pilot flying is responsible to be the aircraft like this, the pilot monitoring has to advise the pilot flying by You are not following, but you cannot say, oh, can you give me? No, there are some specific call outs for this one. Speed, sim rate, pitch, if you are exceeded these things. And if when you reach that point, this criteria of 1,000, it depends on the company, as I say. If you don't have the aircraft configuration correct properly, immediate the go around. How we can do the go around? How we can do? Remember that the go around is one of the maneuvers that you have to be planned before. Because if you see the go around is something that it's happened immediately, you remember one thing: go around minded during all the approach. During all final approach, go around minded. What is the meaning of this one? That there are at least incredible things, and we cannot detail here how of the things that you have to do it. You have to do it to go around for their reason. Situational awareness. Situational awareness is something that you have to know where you are. If you don't know where you are, immediately you have to do it to go around. If you have some failures in one instrument navigation system, maybe you have to do it. The ATC tell you to do it to go around. Maybe you reach the minimums and you do not have enough visual reference. You have to do it to go around. How you have to do it to go around? Go around flaps. This is the go around. Go around flaps. You have to advance the thrust into toga. This is compulsory. Advance the thrust into toga. And the aircraft is going to give you information, all of the, because it's going to change the phase of the aircraft, is going to change into the go around phase. So you are going to pitch up 15 degrees or follow the SRAs. You have to announce manual toga SRAs who are on track, out of thrust on or out of thrust blue, and you have to read it, and the pilot monitoring has to analyze this one. Later on, positive climb and something, blah, blah, blah. Okay? No, we are not going to detail how we are going to do it exactly. This one we are going to do during the course. Now we are going to see a little bit about visual approaches, because the visual approaches is something that you have to know how to do it. You know how to do it because there are one way to do it. One way to do it. Remember when you do it at a visual approach in your propeller aircraft, you know what are the points that you have to pass. What are the configuration, when you have to do the configuration. In this aircraft, it's the same. But you remember what I said at the beginning? This aircraft is heavier, faster, and with different flight control system. So this aircraft is faster. So you have to know in advance always what you should do. So when you, before entering in downwind track, you have to autopilot off. It says, the profiles of Airbus tell you step by step what you have to do it. Autopilot off, select downwind track. Then later on, you have to activate the approach. Then you have to manage speed and select go around altitude and select track, because you are going to do it, this maneuver, you are going to do it on track mode with something we are not going to see here because it's because it takes a little bit longer, is what to say the bird. We are going to use the bird for the approach, visual approaches. So we are going to be at 1,500 feet, and when we enter in downwind track, we are going to select flaps 1, and the speed is going to reduce to S screen. Later on, when we reach the threshold, we take time, 45 seconds. And remember that depends of the wind, of the tail wind, depends of the tail wind, okay? We have to reduce 1 second per 1 knot of tail wind, not the wind, tail wind. When we are approaching of the time, we have to select flaps 2, and then starting a slowly, a shallow descent. when we configure it with flap 3, like landing gear down, flap 3, and later when you are on final, full flight with the checklist. This is how to do it. And there are, because remember that you have to see the runway. You have to see the runway because you are on visual. But there are some ways to give you a good idea to be sure that you are in a proper position. In my, remember this instrument, ND? In my ND, with the control of this screen, we can have this information of how is my position according to the runway that we are going to land. Okay, guys. And I think this, it was a little bit quick. No, not finished yet, not finished yet. But as I tell you, that this one is the last part of the course, and this is a big box when we are trying to tell you how to teach you how to fly this aircraft. But at the end, there are conclusions. The conclusion for this one is what we say golden rules. What are golden rules for Airbus? Because Airbus was the one who designed these things, but not only for Airbus, designed for everybody, because there are rules for pilots. There are golden rules. What are operational guidelines. There are guidelines, how we operate this aircraft. Because this aircraft has many automatism, okay? Because this aircraft is a modern aircraft with many new things. And there is important, very important, the crew coordination, this task sharing, this role of these pilots, pilot flying, pilot monitoring. These things are how this aircraft has to fly, and this guideline we can resume in what do we say, the golden rules. There are 4. The first one is flight, navigate, communicate. Second one is use appropriate level of automation. The third one is understand your FM8, and the fourth one is you have to take actions in there. It is not doing what you want expected. We are going by one because these are very important. The first one, the first golden rule: fly, navigate, and communicate. But in this order. In this order: first, fly the aircraft, fly the aircraft, fly the aircraft. Is this one we will give you the best solution for more of your problems. What is fly the aircraft? Has a safety path. You cannot do anything in the aircraft. If the aircraft is not doing a safety trajectory. You don't have to give anything to distract you. You have to be focused on your PFD and to keep the aircraft in a normal maneuver. The pilot monitor is the one who has to monitor, active monitoring all of these things. So flight is safety path. Navigate, of course, navigate. You have to know where you. You have to avoid obstacles. You cannot, okay, I have wheel level, I have not back angle, and you are going direct to the mountains. You are going direct to the one Francisco. No, you have to know where you have to know that you have to know to navigate. The third thing on the first golden rule: communicate. But communicate is not only to communicate with ATC. It's not only this one. You have to communicate with the pilot monitoring. You have to communicate with the cabin crew. This is communicate. So the first golden rule is flight, in this order: flight, navigate, and communicate. The second one: use the appropriate level automation all times. Don't be worried to use automation, but the proper one. Do you remember that when we are on alternate load, what he said, that it's better to use manual thrust? Why? Because you don't have to fight, maybe, for some situations. So sometimes, not always, the autopilot is the proper way. Sometimes it's much more better to use manual if you feel more comfortable. So you have to use the appropriate. We are going to put one example, but instead of without automation, with automation. Imagine that you are coming back home in a long night flight. You are going to land in your destination airport early in the morning, with the sun in front of you. With the sun in front of you, you are tired, sleepy, and also with the sun in front. Maybe the auto land is the proper thing that you have to do. Use the proper automation all times. We are going to the third one. Understand the FMA all times. Remember that in the PFD, the upper side, the name is the FMA. This part of the PFD is the FMA. You have to understand what the FMA say, because all of the things that you have to do it is first monitor your FMA. Monitor your FMA. You have to see what is happening on your FMA. Then the role of the pilot flying, is announce the FMA. The role of the pilot monitoring is confirm what the pilot flying already said that is happening on the FMA, to see if his own FMA is happening the same. And the fourth one, please understand the FMA. Because remember one thing, this aircraft is going to fly what FMA say. If you select something on the FU and there is not reflection, it don't happen on the FMA, the aircraft is not going to do what you already select on the FC. So this is the third golden rule. The fourth one. Please, if the things are not as you expected, take the control. Take actions. Take actions. You cannot, okay, I already activate the approach. I already, the aircraft is going to take is going to intercept the localizer. Oh, it's not intercepting. Oh. No. Take control. Maybe disconnect the autopilot, turn immediately. This is take control. And there is one important thing in this point, the pilot monitoring. The pilot monitoring. If until the advice of the pilot monitoring, the pilot flying is not following, maybe the pilot monitoring has to take the control, take over. So this is the resume of how we can fly this aircraft, is concentrate in these golden rules, in the 4 golden rules. And remember one very important thing, but for all pilots, not for only the Airbus. Please, at the end, you have to fly the airplane. Okay, and as we said in every presentation, it is possible to fly without motors, without engines, but not without at knowledge or skills. At the end, you have to know, you have to study what you are going to fly, and you have to skill how to fly. This is complete. This one is complete right now. The course, let me I hope I hope that everybody see me. Thank you very much. This, as I say, is a complete introduction to jet orientation course, that when you came with us to the Global Training Aviation Centers, the 3 that we have, you will have an extension of this course. I remember that you have also some time, at least 16 hours on the simulator level D, because there are very sophisticated simulators. And these kind of things that we already done is to try to keep the pilots community with us until this difficult situation. As I told you, thank you very much. I hope that we'll see you in the next lessons. Thank you.